Sam Fine.
Sam Fine.
Sam Fine.
If you've landed here, then you're probably a big fan of Sam Fine, the makeup artist, just like Iman, Naomi Campbell, Patti LaBelle, Vanessa Williams, Mary J. Blige, Veronica Webb, Brandy.
And this is a beautiful shade on our lovely Miriam.
Hi, Miriam.
But if you don't know who Sam Fine is, this is your opportunity to learn about a living, breathing icon of the beauty world. Sam Fine is the makeup artist who gave us a makeup industry first when he created his makeup artistry book, Fine Beauty, Beauty Basics and Beyond for African American Women. In this must-have book, he shared his amazing tips and techniques that still stand up today, almost 30 years later. Sam Fine is also the makeup artist who actively chose to champion the beauty of Black women and encouraged them to rock trends like thin brows and bleached brows before everybody else. Sam Fine is the makeup artist who's had countless magazine covers, worked backstage at Fashion Week, had ad campaigns and worked on tons of music videos. Sam Fine is the makeup artist who got his start assisting the greats such as Kevin Aucoin and Frank Cooper and went on to become an icon in his own right due to his attention to detail. In 2009, he launched his instructional DVD, Sam Fine's The Basics of Beauty, and his impact has never left. In May 2025, he won the Icon Award at the 11th Annual Met Gala Artist Dinner, a celebration of the beauty community that happens after the Met Gala in New York, often at Mr. Chow. In this episode of the Charisse Report, we're going to talk to Sam Fine himself about how he got into makeup, the trends that began with Black women, and he takes us behind the scenes of one of the many music videos he worked on in the 90s. Let me tell you the Sam Fine story.
But I always tell people you have to be in it to win it. So by me showing up and assisting other makeup artists, you never know who's watching.
Samuel Fine was born in 1969 in Evanston, Illinois. When he was 6 months old, he was adopted by Doris and Morris Denton, becoming a baby brother to Tracy, Kim, and Keena. Growing up in the far south side of Chicago, Sam was a very creative child. He loved to dance and draw, and sometimes he would refer to himself as the class clown. But it was when he attended high school that he became more serious about his art. In his junior year, he was accepted on a summer program at the Art Institute of Chicago, which was a dream come true for him. And there he met a mentor in the form of teacher Craig Rex Perry. But while his fashion illustration skills benefited hugely, he did fall behind in some other subjects at school. In Sam's words, he barely made it through, but he did make it through. Sometimes he would cut class and he ended up being suspended. So at one point while he was off school, he saw an advert in a newspaper that was looking for models for a hair show. He went to the casting and got picked as a model. And there he met a designer who would go on to become a good friend, so much so that in 1989, they both would move to New York. To support himself in the beginning, Sam did a range of jobs, including working in a department store on the cosmetics counter, and it wasn't long before he found himself working with the makeup itself. In his book, when he talks about thinking about being a makeup artist, he actually says he resisted it for a long time, and that really made me think, because if Sam Fine decided not to be a makeup artist, of course he would be an amazing fashion illustrator, but the worlds of fashion, music, entertainment would have really lost out if Sam Fine did not become the makeup artist that he is today. Before we get into the first clip with Sam himself, I just wanted to read you a little bit of his introduction to his book, Fine Beauty, to kind of set the tone of the world that Sam was entering in the 90s. I really want us to remember that this was the 90s and things were very different. So I'm just going to read this section for you. He wrote, "My first brush with makeup occurred when, as a boy, I watched my mother apply it. Her beauty regime consisted of applying base and powder and grooming her eyebrows. To do anything more to her would have seemed too much. Like many African-American women of her generation, she couldn't envision herself as being as glamorous as the prevailing beauty icons. At a time when women such as Marilyn Monroe or Jackie Kennedy were society's standards of beauty, she was hard-pressed to find self-affirming images to fashion herself after. And with the exception of Lena Horne or later Diane Carroll, African-American beauty icons were few and far between." Let's get into this first clip where Sam is going to share how he got into makeup and why he chose to focus on Black women.
I think it was two things. Of course, it was the opportunity. But prior to becoming a makeup artist full time, I dressed fashion shows. I assisted stylists. I did everything that I could to immerse myself in an industry that I found truly fascinating at every angle. Audrey Smaltz, she used to MC Ebony Fashion Fair and then started Ground Crew, which began dressing all of the major fashion shows. But Audrey and working with really some amazing people helped me to understand that there was a career in makeup artistry because, of course, my dad's 94, my mom, was 84 when she passed, and they didn't know that art would be a sustainable career. So becoming an illustrator was kind of my first step into acknowledging that art could be a career, and then working behind the scenes with other fashion professionals helped me to see that, wow, people are making a living doing this, and I can find my place. And everyone at the cosmetic counter just kept saying that I had a real talent for this. And I didn't even see it at the time. Fortunately, I had a wonderful mentor, Joseph Hampton, a makeup artist who helped me understand the business of beauty. But even before I could understand color and undertone, I could understand how to draw lip liner or to draw a brow, or understanding the concept of contouring and highlighting because I was an illustrator. I had studied this for years. So translating that took time, but through his help, I was able to learn to select colors, learning to contour and highlight and choose colors that were complementary to women of color, and also general market, because that's where my career began. I wanted what every artist wanted was a Vogue cover. And so I had to be general market marketable, to achieve that. And so I have Cosmo covers. I've worked with Brooke Shields and Bjork, but it was only when I felt more purpose in dedicating my career to beautifying women of color that my career took off.
I love that, because there might have been part of you that was like, I can't afford to say I'm gonna focus on Black women. There might have been a part of you that feels like I have to do everybody, I have to be seen everywhere. And in fact, I feel that might be more of a symptom of today. I think people feel they have to do.
But if that was the only road to success, then I would have only been able to subscribe to one road. And I just didn't believe that to be true. I didn't. You had Naomi Campbell and Beverly Peele and Tyra Banks and Iman. And, I was like, there's enough work here, and there's enough beauty, and there's enough celebrity. It was true that there were only, so few of us allowed in, these specific doors. But fortunately, the women that I worked with, I was able to walk in those doors with them. And so my reality was changed because of that. And wanting a Vogue cover was something that just wasn't as important to me when I was able to have an Essence cover that rivaled what was happening in Vogue. For us, it meant so much more to see Mary J. Blige's first Essence cover, or to see her transformed into the beauty that I always saw her to be.
Mary's first Vibe cover, which of course you did.
Jeez. And that was still kind of the real love, kind of that kind of, it was, I call it kind of rough Mary, because it was still the baseball jerseys, the baseball hats. They were still marketing her that way. But once Mary started to grow, and within our time together, we were able to enhance her beauty in a way that I think we even still see present today.
I was saying, I think you're the king of the eye, the blended eye. But what always struck me about this was how soft, just how her eyes, they almost look clean. Do you know what I mean? It's so clean and pretty. And again, you showed a different side of this woman who was definitely in the early days presented as more, street hip hop. So I think you brought a really beautiful side to her that she obviously already had, but she probably might not have shown.
I think the evolution of the rappers and this kind of like, the women who weren't almost allowed for street cred to be glamorous. Look at Queen Latifah. The first time I worked with her was the I Want to Be Down video with Brandy, Yo-Yo, Light, and La. And she was like, no, you cannot tweeze my brows. She borrowed a hat from Hype Williams, the director. And I was able to do enough. But did I ever think that she would be a cover girl? No. But I saw her beauty and the evolution of what they represented and what Hype allowed me to do, and the lighting and the timing of it all. My career was really perfectly poised in the early 90s, when it was just now becoming safe for these rappers, you know, Salt and Pepper, TLC, to be deemed beautiful, when we always saw their beauty. And that's what I mean. I think it's something cultural, and you can be in a job or you can see more possibility. And I really saw so much more possibility working with women of color, because I felt that general market, you know, models and celebrities had always been privy to the trends, and every cosmetic collection was made for them, you know. So there was more work. It was more challenging for me to find colors that worked on women of color, but I also felt so much more satisfied.
While Sam's skills are very much in demand today, back in the 90s, he really honed his craft working on music videos. In this clip, I asked him to talk through the techniques that he used, because when I started watching the music videos he'd worked on for research, like Brandy's Broken Hearted or I Want to Be Down, I couldn't help thinking he must be the king of the blend, especially when it came to eyes. So let's see what he's got to say.
I came along at a time in the industry when we didn't have such heavy filters and retouching. It wasn't something that we could rest on. I worked at the cosmetic counter in '89 and became a professional in '91, and we didn't have that luxury. So if you weren't on it, if you weren't blending it, if the lip didn't take 15 minutes to layer and line and gloss, then it wasn't right. You didn't count on retouching. You didn't count on a filter. So much of what I learned in my formative years was perfection.
So we're still going to stay a little bit in Sam's music video phase, because I really wanted him to take us a little bit deeper behind the scenes on a specific video. It was a song called That Girl by Shaggy and Maxi Priest that came out in 1996. And I love the celebration of color in this video. Well, you've mentioned Hype a couple of times now, so I wanted to talk about, I found it to be a very random song, Shaggy and Maxi Priest, but the video...
You're so funny. Yeah. That girl.
Yes. This look, you gave this woman, it looks so orange toned. They're in the supermarket, which is a concept that's been copied so many times in magazines, editorials specifically. But I was like, it feels like he's done an orange eye, orange lip, or orange blush. Obviously, the lighting is quite orange, so that might not be it. But I wondered, can you just give me, because Hype Williams is an icon, is there any way you can take me back to that moment? What was the vibe like? Did you have storyboards? Did you have mood boards?
You would come to work. Hype had very little to say about the makeup. You understood what he was going to do. You understood the concept. We had also recently done the Jodeci song with all top models, Cara Young, Veronica Webb. And so now Maxi Priest and Shaggy had gotten together to do this song. And I think Beverly Peele was in this one again, because she was also in Jodeci's. Yeah. So she was in this one again with other models. And the beauty of working with models, obviously, is that their looks can change so easily and they're more receptive to change. And so you just go in, you're in this period of creating, and each model just brought something different. We had wonderful stylists, worked with June Ambrose a lot, Eric Archibald. So it was collaborative, and there was no one just enforcing one look. I do remember you had to fight for a look. You had to say, no, it's going to be this dark lip. I'm telling you, it's going to be beautiful. Or you had to fight for this color package or understanding what the clothing was going to be. I think Todd Oldham had done the clothes for this video. So it just reeks of like fashion and beauty. And there was nowhere else for it to exist other than music videos.
I've been backstage at things today, but this was in the 90s. When you're working in that environment, are you just like running on adrenaline, or do you go somewhere? Are you someone that goes into a zone and you chill?
I was really having fun at the time. And I don't think that you ever really knew what you were doing. You know, when you go back looking at that, I think there was a lot less pressure. I wasn't a celebrity makeup artist. I was an artist that Hype enjoyed working with. Myself, Billy B, and Zynga. There was a rotation depending on the record label and the artist. And so I was fortunate enough to get some of these assignments with Hype. And I just went in guns a-blazing, and everything that I had digested, everything that I had when I was assisting doing fashion shows, bringing some of those things in, bleaching brows and tons of lashes. And lashes weren't what they are today, but they were still really present in a very soft, but a bit more glamorous, yet it didn't take over the look yet. And now lashes are just so wildly popular. Then it was about making things believable. Is that a lash? Now you know that it's a lash and it's a beautiful lash, but you know that it's present. So just really thinking about how I could merge what was going on, on the runway with what should be happening in our community for our sisters.
I just can't get over the color and the sculpting, and just what a time. One thing about Sam Fine is that not only has he seen many trends come and go and come back again over his 30 years in the business, he's often been the makeup artist to really spotlight the trends and even shape them himself. In this clip, we discuss how many trends that even exist today were started by Black women. Because you mentioned the bleached brows there, which of course have been back for several years now. How does it make you feel because one thing about social media is something happens and people that might not have seen it before, they're like, oh my God. And then there'll be people in the comments, I was doing this back in the so-and-so. How do you feel? Because you must have seen several things make a comeback now. How does it make you feel when you see these trends come back?
I think it's interesting when, either other makeup artists or other cultures talk about specific things that have been near and dear to us for years. We've known about contouring and dark lip lining, and I learned that from Naomi, and I took it and I ran with it. I think that there are things that are so uniquely us. Before we had the brown liners to line our lips with, I remember sisters using black, and it was the only way that they could get the kind of definition that they needed against their brown skin. So being able to come in and finesse that was a joy. So when I see other people talk about a trend of lip liner or contouring and highlighting, something that I've learned and mastered at a very early age and very early stage in my career, I'm kind of like, oh, so you guys are catching on. But,
exactly, you're catching up. You didn't invent it.
It's not. But you're blessed to live long enough to watch things happen because everything is cyclical. Totally.
That's one thing. When I see people getting into it in the comments sometimes, I'm like, everything goes around in circles, because what could possibly be new now is the technique and the product that you use to do it.
And the client that you're able to do it on.
Yeah, because sometimes people can think that a look isn't for them just because they've only seen it on a certain skin tone. Totally. But I feel like anything can work on anybody if you are talented enough.
True. I mean, but you do get, every woman gets accustomed to looking a very specific way. I mean, even as a makeup artist, if I buy another new lipstick or buy another product that I already have in my kit, but yet there's a slight difference to it, but it ain't. You still have your preferences for certain things. And I think that always comes across whether you're a consumer or an artist. You know, we have a way, a certain lash that sits on the eye so beautifully, and you run to those things. Those become kind of your go-tos. And I'm not mad at that, but I do think that it's important to kind of understand that there really is nothing new, and then we're all pulling from different elements of eras of artistry.
What I love most about the story of Sam Fine is that his story is nowhere near over. I feel like he might even be just beginning. There's so much more to come from him. And I think that's because when you talk to him, you still see the passion. He's not an artist that has become jaded with what he does. He truly loves it. And I know he's got some special things coming soon for us. I can't say, but one of them will be some masterclasses. So make sure you go follow Sam Fine on socials. I'll share his links in the show notes for you, because a masterclass with Sam Fine has to be a priceless experience. By the way, I was lucky enough to talk to Sam for over an hour. And in that chat, I asked him, are we going to get another Sam Fine beauty book? If you want to know the answer, you'll be pleased to know that that full hour-long conversation is going to be available anywhere you like to get your podcast. So again, check the links in my show notes to listen to a full hour of Sam, because he really drops some amazing nuggets, not just for people interested in makeup, but just anyone that wants to see how you get somewhere. Also, let me know who or what you want me to talk about next when it comes to the worlds of fashion, beauty, and entertainment. You can drop me a DM on Instagram. Again, all my links will be in the show notes, and you can drop a comment here. Before you go, please do like this video if you liked it, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode of the Charisse Report. Thanks for being here. See you next time.